Hi you guys, this is Rachel here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube Q&A video of the week. Guys, before I go any further, I wanted to stop here and tell you, please come to the website. Check it out if you haven't already. I want you to know more about what I offer. If you are connected here through any of these videos, you may have heard me through the years talk about it, but I offer sacred intuitive arts teaching programs that go module by module through helping you really remember what you are capable of and then develop those skills from your own sense of confidence and remembering. And then I also offer sessions if you are interested in connecting with me one-on-one. All of that's available on the website, whether it is sacred ceremonies for soul retrievals and healings, whether it be past life viewing in terms of perspectives, future probabilities, healings with shamanic work and shamanic tools, just traditional psychic readings, mediumship. There is so much that's offered there on the website. So if you haven't checked it out, please go there, as well as the teaching modules, to see what you are drawn to and just to follow your heart to connect. I would love that. I hope each of you had a wonderful, wonderful holiday time, that it was just restorative to your heart and your soul, and had just a time of communion with your own sense of self and just the things that truly matter to you, whether that be a time with your family or personal communion with yourself. It's not always, I think of family because I have a big family and I love that dynamic of all coming together in unity and really making deliberate choice to be together and honor those connections. But oftentimes people don't have family, and so the family that you share the holidays with is not necessarily your bloodline, but your soul family and your soul connection. So I hope that in some way, shape, or form, you were just blessed by this holiday season. We went right into the new year, and what a powerful time of regeneration this year is. So I hope all of you are doing well. It's enough of my intro. I will get to the question of the week and we'll go from there. Okay. This one came in two parts and my assistant broke it up into two different questions. So the first part says, Rachel, I have so much gratitude for you as always. I want to know, how do I trust and use my gifts appropriately? I find I begin to test myself nervously or pressure myself to know everything. Like guess when the traffic lights will change, or just using my gift superfluously. How do I overcome this and know when to use my gifts? I love that question. It's pretty simple, but I think so many people can relate. And to me, because I've been doing this for such a long time as a business, and even before I was doing it as a business, I was still doing this, missing person cases and things like this. I was still doing this maybe without the funds coming in, but in a more legitimate kind of business type manner. And this is what I teach a lot about in my spiritual entrepreneurship classes, because there's such a difference here when we're dealing with the multidimensional realms and our soul and our heart-based connections, which is where the power lies in the psychic realms. And then we're dealing with technique and skills and business and what would be, left and right brained, heart versus mind, all of these types of scenarios. And a lot of what I'm hearing you saying when I read that is I think that your mind is beginning to dominate your sense of testing yourself or confidence. When the mind gets too connected to the confidence of what we're doing, it can really skew our sense of personal trust or really that calmness and our sense of connection. So let's go through some pieces of advice. I can give you advice from my point of view. And I will state first and foremost that this is just my perspective. Not all psychics or those in my line of work, even as a shaman, feel the same way. Some organizations train very meticulously on certain skills and hitting certain numbers, and they will even tell you, and there's certain psychics out there that will say, this is my I can't remember, I don't know if they'll have certain numbers, like this is how accurate I am, and this is my level of accuracy for this many readings, this is how many I've gotten. I mean, it's just, some of them are very numerical. I don't teach that way. I don't view my level of success or accuracy based on that type of thing. Okay, but some do, like evidential mediums and evidential psychics and things that are handling it in a different way. That's much more, I'm a scientific person, but I don't do my readings in that manner. To me, spirit is so much bigger than our human perspective. And even I know when a client is coming to me and I have a heart that they receive exactly what they need, whether they know what they need or not, or whether I know what they need or not, that spirit in the universal intelligence and the supreme knowing of their soul in that moment will provide what is needed for that soul, period. And sometimes it's not the evidence, or it's not the question that they ask. It may be the energy, or it may be some answer that they understand 10 years later. I mean, I've had that where a client comes back literally 10 years later and said, you read me and you told me this, this, and this. Of course, I have no memory of it. And at the time they were frustrated or didn't understand it and didn't like it. And then 10 years later, spirit reveals something and it all just unravels like a puzzle piece. And, it's so much bigger than a small perspective, like being able to tell a traffic light. To me, that's kind of a game, right? Like playing memory when you're a kid, where you're trying to flip over and find things. There is a skill and a technique that can be developed, right? And then there is a whole different avenue that is spiritual, that is multidimensional, that's beyond the beyond. And we always have to leave room for that. So the first thing that I will say to you is the psychic realm, and it's always been handled this way, is a sacred area. And so remind yourself, especially when you've had this skill for a long time and it almost feels so innate, or you had it as a child and there are elements to it when you were a child that were very childlike and playful or immature in the way you would handle it. I mean, I'm right there with you, okay? When I was young, my first remote viewing, my first remote viewing that I did very consciously was to check on my brother, who I knew had been in a car accident. So that was the space of the heart, and really wanting to go and scan his body and the other girl that was in the accident. But after that, I used to just check on my boyfriends all the time to see what they were doing. I was not using it with maturity because I was a child when I had this gift. And in ancient mystery schools and in sacred intuitive arts, we were always taught, and the information was withheld for certain levels of maturity, to where you had to almost like prove yourself through initiation and devotion and these very high levels of aestheticism. You know what I mean? Like being extreme situations, extreme devotion, going through physical depravity of like fasting or laying on your face. There was all different sorts of initiations. Physical, mental, and spiritual, putting you through times of difficulty, even the vision quest, and we have done this through centuries in order to gain access to very holy and sacred information of our spiritual connections, of the psychic realm, of our multidimensional abilities. Now, when we come into this life and we've had previous lifetimes or very active multidimensional lifetimes that are tangent or going on now, and we have very active psychic bodies even at a young age, we have to remind ourselves of that. So that would be my first piece of advice to you. And like I said, there's no judgment, because I went through this too myself, as having gifts since a young age. And I would like play with my free will of trying to guess and try to manipulate the TV station if I wanted my brothers to turn on a different TV station. When you're a child, you kind of do that. And that just reminds me of like what you were talking about, of trying to make the traffic lights change. If you remind yourself of the holiness of this connection, the sacredness of this connection, and put yourself kind of in that mindset that we used to have of the sacred intuitive arts truly being sacred, because there is a energy that permeates the information when it's connected to the heart and not just the head, not just the skill of how to do it accurately, how to organize the information when you have multiple channels speaking through you. I teach all of this, and this is helpful, but this is still not the same as the energy field of connecting to higher vibrational frequencies. And that has to be a purity of the heart. Those frequencies have to be pure. They can't have the interference or the noise, which is kind of this chaotic feeling of like, let me nervously check myself and see if I can get it. Well, am I really supposed to be around this person? Well, let me do these few little psychic checks. If I can know what's going to be on the TV next, or if I can know who's going to call me next. We've all done it, right? What you're sharing, I think, is totally relatable to those who have the gift and are kind of trying to check themselves without first centering in their soul and getting themselves into the right vibrational state. Okay. It's almost like the way that we teach children to handle fire, matches, or a firearm, right? You don't play with that stuff. This is why we tell people don't play with Ouija boards. Don't make a game of it, because the energy and the ability to connect without the wisdom of what you're connecting to, how to shut portal doors or shut doors that you open, how to have psychic boundaries around you and have navigational tools, can be harmful. Just like a firearm, right? And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just like fire. And fire is a wonderful thing, right? We heat our food with it. We keep ourselves warm with it. It's not bad in its own ethical or moral sense. It's just can be misused or inappropriately used if we're not respecting it and holding it as a sacred item. The same is true of the spiritual realm. If we start to be too playful, the answers come back playful, they come back chaotic, so you're on, sometimes you're off, and then it confuses you even more because you're like, I didn't get that right. Wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't be giving readings from the heart. It's just all over the place because you are in an energy of chaos to begin with. And you're emitting that out. And so there's your frequency as if you are your own antenna connecting with the other realms. What comes back? Chaos. The words feel all muddled. There's noise. There's all these different channels that have no sense of consistency or purity in their sense of connection. So remind yourself of that this is something that should be viewed as with a sense of respect. Just like I said, like firearms or like fire itself, something that isn't handled superfluously. Don't use it like that. This is why I always teach in my classes also to ask permission of readings. Don't just pop in and pop out. And I didn't used to do that. Like I said, when I was in junior high, I would check on my little boyfriend and if I was worried about something. Don't do that. Learn from my mistakes when I was a child and didn't really have a sense of what this should be used for, but have a sense of respect for yourself and for others and for the information that you're connecting to, and realize energy versus energy. If you are sending out that signal, you're going to receive that type of energy coming back. It's never going to feel clear because you're not coming from a clear space. So first, align yourself in your sense of respect. And then my last piece of advice to you would be to, if you are truly doubting or having trouble with your when to use your gifts, get very sincere in your heart. Don't come from a place of like, I'm busy, but I'm going to test myself while I'm driving my car, while I'm cooking and doing these other things. It's like, get sincere and mean it. Get into a time and a place like you would prayer. And this is the same state of the heart. And I say that now, but I realize that not all people pray with sincerity. Some people just recite prayers, like they've said the same little night prayer all their life, and they just say it with no sense of meaning or heart. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those times when you're praying, when you really mean it. Someone's about to go into surgery, or there's something that is a big life change for them, and you're just in your heart space, praying to the Supreme, which is just a form of connection and communication, like you would talk to anyone, and you're saying to them and to Spirit to please watch over them, to cover them with a sense of security, and essentially opening up your heart in a time of communion and connection with the unseen forces of the world, with the multidimensional access of the universe. And so when you're doing that, that's my sense of kind of advice for you is to get into a place that's not superfluous, not asking about the lights, that means something to you. Sit down, meditate on it, get clear, come into your sense of heart. If it still feels frantic, the way I've taught this before is you can sit like you're meditating, you can get on your knees if you're used to praying, but get in a posture that has sincerity. Again, this is where the ancients would prostrate themselves, laying flat on the floor, or they would get on their knees when they were in front of an altar or a holy symbol or sacred icon, or they would chant a mantra until they got themselves into a point of stillness. And from there is where you offer your sense of connection and questions and direction. Okay? That's where you ask Spirit, what is true, what is not, from that pure sense of your heart-based connection. You can even pray that prayer from that space of being pure and clean. I like to visualize, because I am predominantly clairvoyant, I go typically towards visuals, but if you're predominantly clairaudient, you could hold mantras or statements that may be more powerful for you. If you're more clairsentient, you could work with breath work until you found that point of stillness and connection, or physical alignment of the body posture like yoga or martial arts that holds an energy of silence and connection and solitude, and that sovereign posture, which is typically alignment of the spinal column or the shoulders and the hips. Any of those, whatever works for you to find that place of stillness from there. I like to unzip myself layer by layer, as if my skin is a coat. And I just unzip and lay it down. If I hear thoughts and, oh, what about this and what about this, and something my kid asked me about and some to-do list I've got to do, I just unzip it, let that fall. And I wait for a moment until I feel a little more centered. If it comes back, I unzip again and just keep unzipping until essentially, like the layers of an onion, I find myself at the center. You can do the same with repetitive phrases. When thoughts come out or distractions come out, you come back to the mantra or the sacred word, back. And essentially it's like unclothing the debris from our mental field or emotional fields around us of what we're dealing with, until you come to that place of stillness. And from there, you ask your questions. All right? And from there, you will feel a sense of peace automatically. There's a peaceful sense of wisdom that comes from that information. Whether you're speaking to your higher self or a particular angel or a particular ascended master, whether you're wanting to see future probabilities or connect via astral travel or remote viewing, whatever it is that you have on your heart to do, come from that sacred place in the heart. Get there first. And then from there, you'll have a sense of peace. That's an easy space to trust. It's not like this mental chaos that you have to decide what's true and not true. There's so much physical, experiential, like you can feel the sensation of peace. Your shoulders relax down, your breathing pattern slows, your heartbeat slows, your literal stress hormones change. I mean, you feel it. And so there is really no room for doubting that message that comes through. It's a completely different space that you're in. Get in that space first and then connect from there. That is a holy level of respect and sacredness that the, sacred intuitive arts or those that taught ancient mystery schools, this is what we used to learn through rites of initiation, working our way to that point and only connecting and asking the information from that state of mind and that purity of the vibration or the frequency, which is that alignment of the heart and the mind. You'll know when you have it. And really, there's a humility with that. It's not like, I know I'm right. I trust my words. I trust what comes through. It's just like, I am so humbly open, and I'm hearing with such an open heart and purity and sincerity in my questioning. I am asking exactly what my heart desires to know, and as basic and as pure and as simple as I can say it. And I'm letting Spirit speak to me from there. Trust kind of doesn't even come up. It's like you don't even have room for doubt because your frequency is so pure and you're only aligned with a level of truth that would come through. It doesn't feel playful or chaotic, and the energy that resonates with your heart is one of sincerity and truth, and you know it and you feel it when it's coming through. So engage that level of the heart. That's my last piece of advice to you. I hope that's helpful. Mwah! Blessings. I'm going to sign off here and see you guys next week with another video.